So that's when I rolled those double sixes and got him. Oh, hey, how you doing? This is Leo San Miguel with the San Antonio Fire Department. Today we're going to go over pumping, and we're going to talk about differences between over pumping, straight pumping, and a better way to do our pump operations. Come with me. Let's take a little trip to the pump panel. All right, come with me to the pump panel. My home away from home. All right, that's one way to get off the pump panel, right? Real quick and easy. Make sure to hold on to those handrails every time you get on and off the pump. So we're going to talk about two things today. The purpose of this video is to go over straight pumping versus over pumping. Straight pumping is the traditional way we used to do things. Give it to the highest demand line and we're set. Versus over pumping, we want to be able to see through the gauges. That way we know exactly what's happening at the very end of the line and we can troubleshoot any kind of issues that arise. Okay, so first things first, we're going to talk about straight pumping, which is the traditional way that SAFD has done things. So we're going to pump to the highest demand, or the first initial line, which is 3 sections, 1 3/4 inch that we have out laying out right now. So for that, we're going to pump 125 on our master discharge. And we're going to come down here to our number 1 speed lay and get 125 as well. So the problem with that, we can't see whether they have an issue or not, whether they're flowing, whether they're not flowing. And we're going to show you the difference between what it looks like versus over pumping and how to tell for those key differences that we're looking for. So now we're going to talk about over pumping. Over pumping is pumping to the highest anticipated line. We always want to pump 20 psi over that line just so we can see the fluctuation in the pressure. We want to be able to mark our gauges. I'll show you all how to do that. We're also going to show what a kink looks like in between our sections. We'll mark down our gauge, whether we're interior or exterior, and we can see through the gauges to see what those guys are doing at the end of the line. We want to see if they're closed, whether they're open, they're flowing or not. We want to see where exactly they're at, whether they're interior or even outside, exterior. Okay, so we're still talking about over pumping here. As you can see, I'm in a different area, I'm in a different location, but this is just to show you guys that off of any apparatus that we have in our fleet, we're able to do our over pumping versus our straight pumping. All right, one of the benefits of over pumping is where it's adding another layer of safety. That way we can see exactly what the guys and girls are doing at the end of the line, whether they have enough pressure, whether they have a kink, whether they have a burst section, and we'll be able to see all that here from here without ever getting off of the pump panel. That's something that's very, very important for us as a department. Okay. So you have the engine on now. You can hear it's a little louder, so I'm gonna have to speak up a little bit, so bear with me. Right now we're gonna show you the straight pumping. We're gonna open our master discharge to about 125. Give me a second while I increase the pressure here. All right, now I'm gonna open our number 1 speed lay. We have 3 sections down on the ground. That's where I'm getting the 125 from. I like to open it about halfway. Open it all the way. Now our master discharge is reading exactly what our line is reading. Okay, so one of our safety concerns with straight pumping is we're unable to see the guys down at the end of the line. So if they're around the corner, they're inside the building, we can't really see what they're doing, whether they're flowing, whether they have an issue. We just can't see that. Okay, so we have 125 here. We have 125 on our gauge also. So if I tell them to flow, go ahead and flow. We're not going to see any kind of change whatsoever. They're flowing right now. You can see that nothing really changed for us. It's open, but we have no idea whether it's open or it's closed. Okay, so now what we're going to simulate is a kink. The guys are kinking the line right now. Again, we're at 125. Nothing has changed. I know there's a kink right now, but it doesn't show this on this gauge. If you notice, it's been flowing the same thing throughout the entire scenario. Again, that's very concerning for us because we artificially made a kink. Now we have no idea what's going on. And if they're around the corner, again, we have no idea what's going on. It's safety. Safety is a big issue. Okay, so we simulated open nozzle, nothing changed. We simulated closed nozzle, nothing changed. Simulated a kink, nothing changed. So now we're gonna simulate a burst section. The only difference it's gonna be is the motor is gonna rev up. So she's gonna become really, really loud. That's gonna be the only change. So an attentive engineer will be able to hear and see that. But if you're not on the pump panel, you're not going to hear it, you're not going to see it. So we're simulated a burst section, and as you can see, nothing is really happening. You can't tell, and it's flowing right now. We know that it's flowing because we just said it. So nothing is happening. Again, you have no idea what is happening, whether he's flowing or what is not. Now we can start to see it drop just a little bit. You hear the apparatus starting to come up. She's trying to compensate for that burst line to get that pressure back up there. But we wouldn't know that if we were out there on the end of the line. Okay, now we're talking about over pumping. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna mark our gauge to 20 over our highest anticipated line. Right now we still have the 3 sections hanging out there, so it's gonna be 125. So I'm gonna set this for 20 over that. It'll be about 145, okay? What we got here is our master discharge. We're gonna use our little handy dandy marker here. We're gonna mark it at 145, which is 20 over our highest anticipated line. In this case, we're using 125 because we still have our 3 sections of hose laying out there. So we're gonna mark this at 145. So we have 100, 150, 145 is in that area. I would like to write it here just to be on the safe side. That way I know exactly what I'm doing. So now I'm gonna go ahead and come over here, get it ready to go. Pressure mode, now we're gonna increase and we're gonna come up to 145. All right, we're at 145. Now when I open this, I'm gonna set it to 125. We're gonna open our number 1 speed lay here. So I like to use 2 hands. Open it about halfway, about 7 seconds, 7 to 10 seconds. I don't even have to look at those guys down at the end of the line because I know as soon as they open it, it's gonna show me right here. Right now he's closed. Once he opens, there it is, now it's open. We're gonna get up to 125. 125, we're gonna lock it in place and we're good to go. Now we get our little marker here, we mark 125. We know who they are. They're engine 1, so we know who they are and what they're doing. They're going interior, so with that interior, we're gonna draw a little line to show that. And when we want to state that we're outside or exterior, we wanna draw a circle, just like this, so we know we're outside. This line is outside, exterior. Okay, right now we have our flow at 145, and I can tell that the line is closed because we're over pumping right now. So once they open this line, it's going to drop down to 125 where it's supposed to be. As they open, pressure will come down, equalize to 125, and there it is. Now we can see that they're flowing, so we know exactly what they're doing, even though we can't see them. They're around the corner, they're inside the building, whatever. We can't see them, so we know for sure that they're flowing right now. So once they shut down, it's gonna jump back up to 145. Right now I'm gonna erase this mark. Ideally, we're gonna have that line up there so you can see, but I just wanna erase it so you can see exactly what it's doing right here. 125 is what we're looking at. Okay, now once we shut it, you're gonna see it jump back up to 145. And there it is, 145 with the line shut. So right now we have a kink in the line. I can show you that here on the gauge versus straight pumping where we can't really see anything. Now they're gonna simulate a kink and we're gonna see that line get between the 125 and the 145 once they start simulating that kink. So we can see that kink happening right now. It's not quite 145, it's not quite 125. Okay, so now I know there's a problem. I know they have a kink. So I can check my line from the apparatus to the front door, make sure it's straight. If it's straight, I know the kink is on the inside. So I can radio the officer, let them know that there's a kink inside. At that same time, they're probably asking for more pressure, more pressure, more pressure. But we already set it together, so now we know that there's a kink in the line showing based off of this gauge right here. Another safety concern that we have is the burst section. Earlier on straight pumping, we really couldn't see it. Here, we'll be able to see it on our line, on our gauge. It'll drop significantly, so we can tell something is going on. Okay, so right now we're going to simulate a burst section. The line's going to be open here in a second. See how that pressure dropped? We know that there's no resistance at the end of the line. So there's a hole somewhere, but that pressure dropped significantly. Now we know there's a problem. At this point in time, that's what we tell the officer, hey, you need to get out of it. We don't have any water for you, you need to get out. So, over pumping versus straight pumping. Straight pumping, old school, less effective, can't see through the gauges, versus over pumping, efficient. It's more effective. It's a whole lot safer for us as a fire department.